Welcome to another weekly featured business brought to you by Visibility Impact and your host, 𝗕𝗏𝗵𝗵𝗵, where he will gracefully take our featured guest on a personal and business journey and stories that will inspire, educate, and engage you.
Hello and welcome to another Friday Featured Business brought to you by Visibility Impact and your host, myself, 𝗕𝗏𝗵𝗵𝗵. Today we have our 154th guest, Martina. So welcome to the show, Martina.
Thank you, James, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolute pleasure for me. And I know we've been waiting a while for this one. So because I'm absolutely terrible with names, maybe you can say your full name for me, please.
Yes, no problem. My name is Martina 𝗕𝗏𝗵𝗵𝗵, and it's an Italian name, basically. So because I'm from the northern part of Italy.
Very
Martina
beautiful.
𝗕𝗏𝗵𝗵𝗵.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, I thought you weren't Swiss. I know you're living in Switzerland, but I gathered that you weren't Swiss. So actually on LinkedIn, this is where I think we met via LinkedIn.
Yes.
But you have your title there as Dr. Martina. So do people call you Dr. Martina or Doctor or just Martina or something else?
Well, in our setting, actually, everyone calls me Martina because we are using our first names. Yeah, but from a qualification point of view, I'm actually a doctor. If I'm very, very precise, I hold 2 doctorate degrees. So, it's from a professional point of view, sometimes it makes sense to just add that title, but I'm not fussed about the title. It's
okay, excellent.
Yeah.
And you don't want me to call you Frau and your surname?
No, it's fine if you're calling me Martina. That's perfectly fine.
Having lived for many, many years in Switzerland, I mean, people typically use your surname, right? I mean, with me, it's always 𝗕𝗏𝗵𝗵𝗵, and I was never comfortable with that. I just said, just call me James, right? Which is the opposite now in Portugal now. Everyone calls you James. They actually call me Mr. James, which is really quite fun. I said, no, just James. James is fine, right? But I prefer...
It's nice to see the differences.
Yeah, it is, because you see that, and it's nice to be respectful of that as well. But then, hence the reason why I asked. I mean, I've had guests that, a guy that was a doctor, and he wanted, everybody called him a Dr. Michael Sala. That was his name. And yeah, he liked that. Whereas others, it's a title, just call me my first name.
I don't dislike it, I need to say, but I feel it's what comes to one, naturally. So I would not say that I dislike it if somebody was to say to me, doctor, but that's fine as it comes.
Yeah, just makes me smile. Okay, so let's get a move on. So, Martina, right? So you've already told me where you're from. So typically I take my guests on a journey and from their childhood to where they are now. So you're Italian. So were you born in the north of Italy?
Yes, I am. Well, I basically come from the northern part of Italy, where people speak 2 languages. So it's German and Italian. It's this provincia di Bolzano. It's Südtirol in German. So I grew up basically in this kind of culture where both languages were important to be learned, and where there was this kind of flex and blending of 2 cultures. And I, for myself, there was, I saw it always as an amazing opportunity to be able to grow up in a context that allowed me to look beyond just one culture. So I'm from there. I was born there. I was born in a very, very, very small village. No, actually, I was born in the town nearby, but I grew up in a very small village. We're talking about, at the time, maybe 1,000 inhabitants, and I was living in a very safe space, in the sense that, children were allowed to just play outside and go to the woods and spend their afternoons with their friends in the midst of the forests and hiking by themselves and staying outdoors after school all day, and it was just normal. Mother was at home basically, and the father was working, but there was always this understanding the mother was, if you went back home, there was the mother who would take care of you or who would give stability. And yeah, I was very blessed with my, with my childhood because of that situation, that this safe space, I would call it, which doesn't happen anymore all the time in today's society, where children, can't really experience this freedom anymore of
Yeah.
just walking around. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, it sounds wonderful. I mean, I was also an outgoing kid. I mean, outdoors kid when I was younger, or when I was a kid, and it was great. I mean, you entertain yourself. There was no electronic games or anything in those days. So, I mean, it was like get out, entertain yourself, and come back when you're hungry.
Yes.
And that's what we did. We were explorers. We were opportunists. I mean, anything. So you'd make up your own games and with your friends, and it was great fun. And yeah, very much outdoors. I mean, in all weathers. But you got used to that, and yeah, I think the outdoors becomes part of you, because now that I'm older, I love the outdoors, and with my kids, I encourage them to spend more time outside, and then also to observe the outside. So when you're actually in a forest, like stop talking and just be dead quiet and still, and see what you can see, because you can see a lot of wildlife. And then I ask them, I know we digressed a little bit, but I asked them, like, what do you hear? What can you smell? Tell me, describe the smell in the forest. And it's something that you're not aware of. You just take it for granted until you actually stop and start smelling and listening. And then it becomes alive with a better ambience of maybe what you intended to go out there to listen to.
Right. I agree with you.
So that said, I mean, most of my guests actually love the outdoors. I mean, I ask in the questionnaire, what did you love as a kid? And people say nature, the outdoors. And I think most of us, that's the way we are. We love those, and we don't want anyone to take that away from us. And exactly right what you said, that the freedom and the safety you felt when you were a child growing up, you didn't even think about it. Your parents it didn't even cross their mind to think like the kids are out for hours, and then they left you to your own devices to a certain degree, and then you just come back and have your dinner or whatever and carry on, and as long as you wash your hands, right?
Yes.
So do you have any siblings?
I do. Actually, I do have still two older brothers. I used to have three, but my eldest brother, he was killed in a car accident when he was only 9. And it's interesting, but that really left a mark on me, because he was let's say, my favorite brother, probably because he was the one protecting me from the other brothers, and he was only 16 at the time. But the way I remember him, he was the grown up, and he was taking care of his little sister, the only female, the only daughter, basically for that family, but not only for the family, for the entire, relative families. So all the relatives didn't have any female. And so that really left a mark on me, because from one day to the next he wasn't there. But interestingly enough, there was when that happened, I was very, very sad, of course, because I was always a very sparkly young girl, and I
So,
remember.
sorry to interrupt. I mean, it is a very sad story. How old were you at the time?
I was 9. I was 9. And I used to sing, in the morning all the time when I went from my bedroom to the kitchen to have breakfast. And also on that day when it happened to my brother, I went to the kitchen singing, and everyone was, very serious and nobody would talk. And then my mother just told me, your brother will not come back anymore. And I couldn't make sense of it, because it was just not possible for me. But I had, and I still, I think, was able to see beyond that reality. And that helped me probably you cope with the situation, basically, because our entire family underwent, a period of not only a period, basically an entire life on the basis of sadness. Sadness. It was just sadness all the time in our family, because this was the eldest son, and it left a mark on my parents. They couldn't get over it, and also my brothers didn't really get over it very well. But then for me, I had this spiritual epiphany, and I felt, oh, my brother is not there physically, but he's still there. And I remember that at the time I had this kind of understanding that sooner or later I will be a mother, and I will be a mother of a son, and for sure of a son. I didn't know how many children I would have in the end, but I had the understanding that would be a son, and that son would have similar traits that my brother used to have, and that my brother was, and that he's always there with me. And in fact, this happened. I became a mother only of one son, which is okay and perfect. And I see in my son also lots of similar traits. Whether this is wishful thinking or not, I don't know, but I see that within him. So, yes.
It's a thanks for sharing. I mean, it's a sad but beautiful story as well. And I don't believe that. I mean, I think you physically die, as a body, but I don't believe that you ever die as a soul. So you'll meet again for sure.
Yeah, I actually have the perception that I'm meeting my brother, not all the time, because I'm not always aware of him being around, but many times, there are moments where I just know my brother is with me. And when I'm in a situation of asking questions, of not knowing what shall I do, we always know what we should be doing, but sometimes there are just moments where you still do not completely, connect with your inner knowing, and you get a little bit taken away by the noise around you. And then those are the moments where I do actually really physically ask my brother, what would you now do? And I tend to feel he's answering, and that's very helpful at times.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. So, something fond memory to keep and cherish.
Yes.
So then, growing up then as a kid, so what things did you aspire to want to be when you were older?
Well, that's an interesting question, and it's a question that I had an answer to from a very early stage in my life. And that was a stage when my brother was still alive. But I remember that I was around 5 years old, or maybe even a little younger, in kindergarten, and I was a very, at the time I was very often very sick and often in hospital, so I didn't really attend kindergarten that often and for a long time. But I remember while I was in kindergarten, at some point, I had this idea I will have my own school sooner or later. And in order to have my own school, I will become a teacher. I will have to learn lots of things, because at the time I did not understand why children, even in kindergarten, had to do always all the same thing at the same time. And I was, I questioned that, because I thought, but we are all so different. I have, if I looked at my own family members or my peers in class, I thought we are all so different, and we should be doing all the same thing at the same time. And so I had this understanding, something will happen with me, and this was kind of buried then later. But at the end of the day, I underwent this kind of, training, and I became a teacher in the first place, first in Italy in middle school. And I was always more interested and curious to find out about the uniqueness of each student. And then I started training in coaching and training in holistic education and training in cosmology and I started that already alongside. I started teaching, because I started teaching quite early alongside my studies, because, I wanted to finance myself. I didn't want to be dependent on anybody. So I wanted to pay for my bills by myself. So I started teaching already at the age of 20, while I was still, studying pedagogy and psychology at the time, so that I could become a teacher. And in Italy at the time, in northern Italy, also at that time, we were short of teachers. So I was able to already start working, which was great. I think I was great to, bring practice and theory together. Yeah, but my main focus was always, how can I do justice to each single student? How can I understand each single student? What can we do so that they are inspired? What can we do that they actually pursue their inner essence? And I remember my first doctoral degree was actually on that study, and I did I pursued the program with them, where it was a preparation for their own, professional lives, so I integrated that in my teaching, and I collaborated there also with parents, and I had a great headmaster who supported me with that. So so I could gain a lot of experience. I realized how important it was to connect with the students, so that the students feel seen, that they feel, okay, this is not just a teacher who is who is delivering lectures and filling me with lots of information, not knowledge, information. And of course, due to my other training in, more holistic and cosmology and all of that, it was clear to me that I have a human being in front of me who actually already knows within themselves what their essence is, and how important it is not to just see the surface, but to dig deeper into, what is beyond the physical being, and that takes me back again to my story with my brother. I always felt there's more. He's not just the body. And so, so this is what I did at the time already. And then it developed in that direction. And eventually, after international experience and research in lots of different systems, and living in different places and doing different roles, from teaching in middle school, then in international schools with adults, and in the IB system, and then lecture at university, and constantly going forward in that direction. I started putting together what made sense to me along the way, with the different systems, with the different research, and then the school was, I put things together, and School Beyond Limitations was created.
Right. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I just want to catch up on some other bits first. So it was very good that you had a headmaster at the time that was open to this, because I think today, particularly in the educational system, a lot of teachers have left because there's not that flexibility. And you're there to teach a certain subject a way that they want you to teach it, and don't deviate from that. But you're absolutely right. I mean, if you look at you look at within your own family and your own kids and siblings and whatever, we've all got different learning abilities. It doesn't mean that one is more clever than the other. It just means that the way that they learn, or the subjects that they absorb better, are different from the other kid. So you can't put us all in the same box, and you can't expect us all to go to school and be A+ kind of math students when we're not. I mean, we've all got different persona types, different abilities, and I mean, there's a list as long as your arm of how we are so different from each other. We are not kind of robots in a robotic world in the way that, programmers like AI, and we'll all say the same thing. Maybe that's what the system wants, but in reality, we're humans, and we think and act differently. And I say that because, just looking at my kids, I mean, they're 8 and 11, and they have challenges. I see them. I think my 11-year-old, absolute mathematician, excellent, and fantastic at certain things, but the others aren't the same. And I think how it's the same parents. How can one be so good and the others like that? That seems to be a challenge for them. So we can't label everyone the same. So when you say you have that personal connection with kids, and you really want to see what are their true gifts, that is, to me, what is missing from the educational system of the standard schools.
Yeah. I also agree. I think it's really about the connection, the relationship. And one of the main things, and, I think everyone will probably agree on that, is that a human being needs to be seen and needs to be understood, and needs to feel that they can feel safe within, and that there's space for them to grow, and that there is no constantly judgment. I want you to do this and that. And that doesn't mean that we can't, open a space, or we can't guide them in a certain way. That's not what I mean, because sometimes, it depends on the personality of a student also. Sometimes there are students, and not only sometimes, there are students who need more guidance and who need somebody who actually helps them find their next steps. And there are other students who are completely self-directed straight away, So I think there are different personalities, and this is, I also use a tool which I think is one of the tools that really helped me understand myself and also other people really well. And again, that's not just one tool, but it's one of the many tools, but that work probably. But in my specific situation, I really use human design as a tool to understand myself and to understand others. Because if I understand that this is that I'm a person who really comes up with constantly with new ideas and wants to manifest new ideas fast into the world, I also need to be aware that being this kind of person, you can't expect others to come along straight away, because others may take some time to digest that, to understand that, and so forth. And that's why it's important, especially as a parent, I think it's important to understand your child. And in the first place, to understand yourself, you know, because if you stand under ourselves, then we are also, more easily capable to give this, the foundation to our children as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, there's a lot of people. I mean, I went through kind of a transition from the corporate world to what I do now, but that transition was not easy. I mean, sometimes it happens because it was meant to happen. Sometimes you're kind of pushed into that's the only way because you're made redundant, or whatever the case may be. And then the biggest problem is knowing who you are, because all right, you've accumulated a lot of skills on that journey, but it didn't define who I was. I didn't know who I was. I had some skills I could use, but was that the purpose? I mean, to collect these skills and then to do what with them? But it wasn't so much also collecting skills. What did I have inside me that were my true gifts that I never knew I had? And you're right. I went on a journey to rediscover who I was. And then once I knew, then I'm more empowered then to help others, because I had a clear vision then, rather than being disillusioned with life. And that definitely helps, because it is in a position, they always say, like, put your oxygen mask on first before you help others. So you've got to be in a place of being comfortable that you can help others. If you're a complete wreck, then how can you help someone else? So I definitely believe in that. So let's just get to the point that you're in the educational system, so you had many international experiences. So how did you end up moving from Italy to where you are now in Zurich? And was that to do with work or something? And then also the second part of that is, how did you then kind of leave that schooling environment to set up your own business?
Yeah. Basically, I mean, there are, as you said just right now, you know, there are certain things that happen in your life that you can plan ahead, that you may have under control, and there are other aspects in your life that happen to you, you know, and that I would be working in education. That was clear more or less from the beginning. The only thing which I wanted to do is actually going into, because I really love mathematics, right? I used to be very good at mathematics and I just loved it. And initially I wanted to study mathematics. Maybe I would have ended up being a math teacher anyway. But then I didn't do it because I thought at the time I may not be good enough in mathematics coming from a specific school, you know, because there were different schools, and one specific school system would prepare you well for mathematics at university, and that school system I came from, I thought, is not enough. Yeah. But to get back to your question, I don't want to get too far away from it. Yeah, I basically always followed my husband. So why did we move? I used to already move to Zurich beforehand, a long time ago, due to the work of my husband.
Sorry to interrupt. Is he Swiss or
No,
Italian?
he's not Swiss. He's Italian. He's coming from the same village, basically. But
Right.
he went into another field of work. And
Childhood sweetheart.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we can call it that way. We knew one another, from we had known one another for a long time, and yeah, we came. Yeah, we were a couple already at the age of 19. So that's
Wow.
true. We came together very, very early in our lives. So he did an MBA in finance, and so he became a banker, and he got a job in Zurich. So I left my job to join him, and then I started my career here. Started in adult teaching, and then at an international school in Zurich, and there I started broadening, the system into the IB and stuff like that. And then my husband was moved again to Milan, and then I moved with him. I had to leave my job again. I started all over again. I started again in adult education, and then I went to a lecture at university in Brescia, and then I started my education career as a independent person by consulting other people. Then I became a head of school in Monza, IB school also. And then again, my husband went to Geneva. I didn't join him in Geneva, but then he was moved to Lugano, and then I left again my job at a school, which I loved, honestly speaking, to go with him to Lugano again. And all the way through, I accumulated lots of different, I did research, lots of different experiences, and I already started building up, what eventually became the concept of School Beyond Limitations. So each little step was needed. Each little step was needed. So in Lugano, I worked for an American school. It was a boarding school, so I saw how that worked. And then I became again a head of school there. And then my husband was moved again to Zurich, and once again I needed to leave. And then I came to Zurich again, and this is now 7 years ago, about 7 years ago. And then initially I wanted to do, again, what I used to do. And I applied for jobs, and I realized that people found me, they wanted me somehow, but I was too innovative for the system. Because and then I thought, okay, I will now, I wasn't aware of that. I will now do my own business. I want to help people, especially women, to find their essence. Yeah. So, and that's when I started doing a course, a marketing course, and this was led by a couple, and the female of the couple, and both of them asked me what my background was, and I told them. And the female at the end of the course asked me, because I wanted to work with females, and she said, "Is this your passion?" And then I said, "Yeah, why not?" And then she said, "Didn't you want to open a school?" And then I said, "Yes." And she needed somebody, because she was, or she still is, an entrepreneur who is moving countries.
Alessia.
Katarina.
Catalina.
Yeah. So
it's not the same people I know then, because maybe we'd met previously in Zurich.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe.
No, I'm just thinking, maybe it wasn't Kane and Alessia.
No.
No, it wasn't them then.
No, it wasn't them. It was a German couple, and then
right, okay.
Yeah, and then I said, yeah. I mean, I was just not sure about doing this online, because this concept was already kind of there, yeah, except for the online. And then she said, but maybe could you apply it for online? And then I just, thought of modalities, so that the social aspect, because for me that's important. Online only is really not enough. You need to facilitate everything holistically, yeah. And so I just adapted it, and she was in agreement to start, with her own children. And so we started. I went in
Wow.
pioneer phase with her own children, and it worked. And then the school was born. Yeah. So now we are we actually have 5th anniversary on the 21st of
Congratulations.
May. Thank you. And interestingly enough, the 21st of May is the day when my brother passed away. So
Mm.
it's really interesting to put these
Yeah.
things together.
So you remember dates and numbers and being a mathematician as well, because I know we mentioned offline. My guest takes the next available number, so the number for you is 154. So I mean, add them together. So 5 and 1 is 6, plus 4 is 10. Round it back down to the primary number, so it's 1.
Yes.
So yeah, a good number.
It's
The ultimate number.
yes,
Right.
I also see it as a very good number.
So I know you mentioned, I mean, I was listening out for this word that came out a lot. I mean, you were talking about your childhood, you were talking about all sorts of different things, and maybe you didn't notice it so much yourself, or maybe you did, but you used the word beyond a lot, right? So just a recap. I know you've mentioned it a couple of times now, but that your business is called
School Beyond Limitations.
School Beyond Limitations.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now, I mean, I've had a sneaky look at your website. So I see that you've created quite a substantial team as well. So when you first started going, I mean, it's quite significant, really, what you've achieved in 5 years. So, and then bringing this knowledge. I mean, just backtracking on that also. I mean, you went to Geneva, so I mean, typically French speaking, Zurich, although it's German speaking, it's Swiss or Zurich German, or Swiss German, should I say. And then Italy, obviously Italian, and then international schools, I guess, typically English. So you've had quite a mixture there as well, but also different learning. And I think in a way, probably being disrupted by your husband and changing jobs and changing cities and then kind of restarting again has also been good in the way that it's broadened your horizon and knowledge and your learning to be able to put something together like this. So maybe you could see, oh no, not moving again, but you're at the end of it, it's kind of enabled you to learn a lot to help others now, because a traditional school teacher that just knows one subject and that's, they just do it textbook style, is not the education that I typically want for my kids.
No, I completely agree. I mean, everything is there for a reason, right?
Yes.
I would not want to miss out on
Yes.
any of the experiences, even if they were sometimes really painful also,
Mhm.
because giving up and starting all over again as a number, nobody knows you,
Mhm.
and also moving with your child first and foremost. For me, it was always important at first. I need to accommodate the safety of my child.
Yeah. So you mentioned also the international school in Lugano.
Yes.
I worked there. Well, I went there. I didn't work there. I mean, I'm not a teacher, but I mean, I went there to do a storytelling session with the kids.
Oh,
Right. I guess it was the same. It was Tassus.
I used to work at TASIS also, yeah, but it's the International School of Ticino that I was the head of.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. When were you there? Which year?
Yeah, I don't know, 3 years ago, I think.
Aha. Okay. No, then I had that we couldn't have met because I wasn't there.
Yeah, I did a whole day with the kids. I mean, I had kids. There was roughly 20 or so kids to a class between the age of I think it was 11 and 14, and all international kids from everywhere. They said there's 72 different nationalities.
Wow.
And although there wasn't 72 in the class, I mean, but a good mixture. And I introduced storytelling, the art of storytelling.
Beautiful. I love it.
It was excellent. But I mean, I know we could really digress and talk about that. It was so much fun.
Well, that's an amazing skill, you know. I mean, storytelling. I know that you love storytelling. I also believe stories, you know, they activate our creativity. They activate also lots of other, you know, emotions. And when emotions are activated, then we connect with our inner knowing and with what
Exactly.
flow out of ourselves.
I mean, life is a story. There's stories within stories. We tell stories, we share stories, we love it. I mean, if there's good stories to share, I mean, bedtime stories, this is what our niche kind of is, interactive bedtime storytelling, but the art of storytelling. And then you can address so many things. I mean, particularly emotional challenges like fear.
Yeah.
What is fear?
Yeah.
Why do people have fear? Can you overcome fear?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you feel with fear? But the opposite you could have, like with happiness. Why are you feeling happy? How does that feel? Explain that. And then when people do, then they start to understand that emotion. Yeah, it makes me feel good. Now, my elder son comes to me and says, Daddy, I just feel happy. And I said, why? And she said, I just do. And I said, explain how it feels. And then it's something quite magical, actually.
It is.
I mean, the opposite said I feel fearful. And then it's kind of, why do you feel fearful? I mean, what is making you feel that? How does it feel? And then, no, you don't want to have that feeling. So anyway, School Beyond Limitation. So tell me a bit about that. So it's been kind of 5 years and you're just going to celebrate your 5th year. And how many are in the team? Is it a virtual team? The other teachers, what do they do? What do you do? Who do you do it for? How do people engage? And do you do it online, in person? And tell me a bit more about how this works.
Okay, it's basically mainly an online school, and the team is coming really from many places. We meet, you know, it's interesting. We are kind of going beyond the online context because we feel so connected that people say, also students say, when they are coming from traditional schools at times, you know, for years, and after a few months or weeks of being with us, they say, it's really weird because I feel more connected with these people I'm seeing online than with the former peers that I've seen every day, you know, as that happens not all the time, but very often. Yeah, so the team is coming from different continents. We have from Africa, from Southern Africa, Kenya, from Europe, different places, also Portugal. It's mainly English-speaking people who live in Portugal, then Spain, then Great Britain, then Ireland, then the US, then Germany, what else? Switzerland, Italy, so Greece, Poland, you know, I mean, they're coming really from everywhere. So what is School Beyond Limitations? Yes, it is an online school, but it is a holistic. I think it is the only holistic online school that caters for the well-being of all the aspects that a human being should be catered for. So it's the spiritual aspect, it's the emotional aspect, it's the intellectual aspect. It's also, you know, it's also the mental, of course, aspect and everything, and physical as well. So this is what we are doing so that students really understand, okay, I'm more than just my mind. And we believe in the growth mindset. So we are focusing really on, you know, going beyond. So what is possible if you talked about fear before? is there fear in actually, is that something that we learn, being fearful, or is it something that is innate? I would say, of course, in a situation of danger, then I think it's innate, and we actually respond. If I'm on the top of a mountain and I see that if I move forward, then I would fall down and maybe kill myself. Then it's good that I'm fearful and I'm not making this other step ahead, but that's something different. That's not the fear that many people experience in our society. And the fear in our society that we all grew up with, is this limiting beliefs around us. You can't do this, you can't do that, you need to please this person, you need to please that person. And where we tend to withdraw from ourselves. So this is what we are doing. We are constantly really showing our students, of course we can do it. We find ways, so solution orientated. There's no focus on competition necessarily. Yeah, and by competition, I mean not a competitive world where I need to be better than somebody else. If I want to, give my best, yes, of course. I'm happy to also stretch you, to push you, so that you can achieve what you would like to achieve. And it's based on collaboration. So we co-create together. It's co-creation. And another important part of it, and I think it's related to what I was already saying, everything is possible. It's this entrepreneurial aspect. How can we put that into practice? That doesn't mean we need to earn immediately, I don't know how much money, but how can I bring my essence into the world so that I can live from it? Possibly. I can add value to society and add value to myself, to my small. It doesn't have to be a big thing, so that we live in joy and with passion, and still are capable of, of looking at obstacles in the way with an attitude of, okay, that's there. Is this obstacle there for me to give up, or is it there to look at it and see maybe I should turn around or take another turn and so forth. So this is what we are doing at School Beyond Limitations. It's basically online in primary school, where we collaborate with the parents also. And in secondary school, we also offer residential weeks where we physically meet 3 times per year. And those meetings are really, really important, so that people, and we encourage also students beyond those 3 weeks per year to meet with one another. And the interesting thing is that they do, they really do organize meetings again beyond, and that's why beyond is there, because we can always go beyond. We know that already from neuroscience, we know, and that we talked about it already in a previous conversation, that we just use a fraction of what is possible with our mind, and with ourselves. And this is what we aim to do, and we are doing. And our blueprint goes in everything we do. We believe in the power of education in order to bring the unique essence of each student into life. That's what we burn for, Yeah,
this is wonderful. I absolutely love it. Because I think of my own kids, and honestly, I don't like them. There's good and the bad and positives and negatives you can take from any situation. But when they go to the regular school, all right, they meet other kids and they interact and do sports and things together. And there's a lot of good things, but there's too much competition. It's too much about you have to have the best grades possible, and anything less than that, and then you're not a good student, you're not good at this and whatever. And kids can't excel at everything. I mean, they'll find their kind of niche, their thing that they're good at, the things that brings them joy and happiness. And yeah, they're really inspired to want to do that because that resonates with them. And then there's other things that they don't. And it also depends on the teachers. I mean, I've had I've had subjects I really did not want to do at school, but I had the most interesting teacher. I could learn anything from that teacher because it was just fun. And then I've had the opposite. I've had the great subject and the most boring teacher. And I thought, oh, no, this is my subject, my thing. And it's so boring. And so, yeah, but there was never anything. When I was at school, I even asked my guests, right, what did you want to be when you grew up? Right. And they said, I had no idea. I was lost, disillusioned, yeah, clueless, or didn't know. None of them really knew. And I guess you could ask family members, the next door neighbor, people in the street, did you know what you wanted to do when you were a kid? And most people, no idea. They kind of muddled their way through, got some form of education, and so they could apply for the job because it stipulated that you needed these degrees in that before you could even apply.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not what we're here for. We're here to, like, as you said, there's a lot you mentioned about spirituality, emotional intelligences, and things beyond what you get taught at school. So to me, that is who we are, and this is what you need to explore.
Yes.
And quite ironically, as you were describing that, the things that bring you joy, bring you fulfillment, you're serving others. I mean, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Ikigai.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Right. So Ikigai, that is the philosophy.
Yeah.
I mean, extract all the things you love, that you're good at, what you could offer the world, and how you could make a living doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I really believe we just forget about it. We all basically know who we are as a child, you know, and we just get limited by, you know, the feedback or the influence that we get from the outside. And by saying that, I don't want to say this is all wrong. Don't get me wrong, because at the end of the day, you know, the surroundings also helps to open up the horizon, as you said before, you know, when I was talking about the moves, you know, and the different locations and so forth. But you know, they also are part of us. But it's still important to just keep being connected with oneself. That's the main thing.
Yeah. Exactly. I think once you've got that kind of self-confidence and you believe in yourself, you know what it is that you have to offer.
Yeah.
Then it's easy to learn as well, because you know, well, I'm not going to be the best at everything, right? But the things that really are a passion of mine and something that I'm good at, yeah, I want to focus there.
Yeah.
It's like now that I've left the school and educational system. I mean, there's things that I look back, it's just a waste of my time, right? Doing these things. And I had no pleasure doing it. I didn't enjoy it. I would rather focus double that time on the things that I did enjoy.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're stuck in a system that doesn't allow that flexibility.
Yeah.
And now you've seen it and you're implementing it. I get it's very well received by your clients.
It is well received by those families who really are in alignment what we are doing, yeah, and who are actually. I just had a conversation today with one of our parents, whose daughter has started with us in January, and she's only 6 years old. And he said, you know, I'm so over the moon happy because I see that my child is thriving because her curiosity is not stopped. And now I see the difference between her and her peers who are still back in the other school, and she's just so interested in everything. And this is what I'm not so much interested in, whether she knows now to write, or knows writing all the words immediately. I want her to feel herself, and this is what we are doing. So sometimes the academic aspect may not come along in a way that parents expect it to happen, because of course we do not follow a traditional curriculum, right? Because we give the student time. But if the parents are with us and they want this to happen, then it's beautiful. If parents are still holding back and start comparing us with other settings, then it would not work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, which leads me on to my next question, in the way that, how does this fit in? Like, if a parent's got children and they believe that they want to give it a go and do something different, how does this fit in with the kind of the national curriculum of that country or that school or that city or whatever? I mean, is it a replacement of it? Does it coexist? Does it? I mean, at the end of the day, the kids need a recognized education, and I guess, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I just want to see how this blends in with what's on offer with the system, the schooling kind of government-driven system, and is it accepted? Is it something that, there's no problem, or there's lots of pushback and saying, no, that's it's either good, bad, or indifferent, or whatever?
Well, that's a great question, and it's not just straightforward. And again, we are recognized as an international school by an international foundation, but we are not recognized as a school in all the different countries. And we can operate really well without any problems in those countries that allow homeschooling to take place, right? So we don't have any limitations there, because our curriculum basically is organic. We do have, of course, an understanding. We have what we call math continuum. We have what we call language continuum, so that we know where a student should, what the different skills, a student needs to learn throughout their career. That's something that we have, and but it's not a curriculum that's steady. It's a curriculum that is based on the interests of the students in the class. It's based on the topics that they want to discuss. It's based on their objectives that they want to pursue. So we take them to their destination. This is what we are doing. But we are not recognized within a number of countries. We just achieved now, accreditation in a European country, which is great. And we will shortly, I don't want to talk about it in detail yet, because we still need the approval of the building. But the concept has been approved, which is great, within Central Europe. So we are going also in that direction. And in that case, we really needed to adjust the concept of a school beyond limitations with the curriculum that is laid out by that specific country,
Okay.
So that was possible to do.
Yeah, so typically the ages of the kids are from what age?
All ages. We are starting, our youngest student used to be 3.5.
Okay.
And our eldest student, 21, so
Okay.
all the way through.
But I guess you could do adults as well.
Yes, I mean, we do adults in a sense that we are, the teacher training. If somebody would like to become a facilitator within School Beyond Limitations, they have to undergo training with us, and we call that University Beyond Limitations. And it's a 12 weeks training program. So without that, nobody will join us. And that certainly we also have a something that's called bridging year for students who have finished their qualifications and don't know what to do next. And that's a program designed for a year where we help them find their inner essence, their inner calling. Yeah, that's also something what we do. But with regards to the qualification, just so that we do qualifications also. If we have students who want to, study or want to become entrepreneurs or business people, then we look at what are the requirements, and then we help them prepare, of course, the main thing they need to do for IGCSEs and A levels. So the British system, which is recognized all over the place. And in that case, of course, we need to look into the requirements of the respective countries.
Excellent. And typically when it comes to, this is a combination of predominantly, I guess, online.
Yes.
And if it's local, then it can be physical as well.
As I said, we are opening shortly. It depends on now the facilities, but we want to open shortly a physical school. Yeah, but so far in the past 6 years, because we also need to, at the pioneer phase, we've worked online with
Okay, and typically is it done one-to-one, one-to-many, or how is it done?
One class we have 8 students. And those 8 students, of course, also have one-to-one mentoring in the afternoon, once per week. So that's also important. And in addition, more and more, this is something that we have started and we are further developing, is subject teaching in the afternoon for qualifications. So that if they want to really focus on getting ready for history, IGCSE, that we also offer something in the afternoon, because the morning we have only 3 hours of lessons.
Yeah.
And we know that 3 hours, it's not the time, it's the quality of the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely the quality. I know, I'm just concerned about the time because I know you have another call after this. So I just want to get into a position that we can wrap this up. I absolutely love what you do. I think that there should be more of you. So the size of your team, typically, how many people you started the company, you're the founder.
Yeah, let's say I'm the co-founder, because the entrepreneur I was talking about before, she became a co-founder as well, but operationally and also from the concept design point of view, I'm the responsible, and now the team, the team, together with the team, we are creating and further, developing the concept organically. Yeah.
Okay. So roughly how many people are in the team?
We are slightly over 30 people now.
Okay. And you mentioned already international.
Yes, very international.
Right. And you're growing because, in 5 years, from 2 of you now to 30 plus, it's obviously the business is going well.
Yeah, we had lots of enrollments during COVID, and we had a number of families who joined us because of that. And and there are also families. We are in a situation of, I think, rather consolidation than growth, or maybe even because many of our students are finishing. At the moment, we have students who are at university and who are embarking on that, and a number of families leave us because they due to the authorities in the different countries, and they go back to the traditional system because they need to, in Germany, for instance, we had a collaboration with a school which came to an end. Now we are not allowed to do that anymore, so that has an impact on us. But I think what we are seeing now is that those families who are staying are really, they want exactly this to happen.
What about, I mean, I don't know if you do this. I mean, if someone went to the traditional school, but they wanted kind of a toe in the water and test out what you're doing and have this in parallel, is that possible? I mean, maybe not the full program, but the parts of it, because you mentioned about a lot of things that you do that traditional schools don't do. So to add those bits to help the kids that are in a traditional school, but they could still learn something else.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not a normal class then, but what we do offer is afternoon mentoring, the one-on-one. And again, it's such a different mindset, such a different way, but afternoon mentoring is possible.
Okay.
And, yeah.
No, I mean, that sounds great. I mean, even kind of to explore it and see what it's all about. I mean, it's fascinating, and just my curiosity led me to want to check it out and see. And if I just look at, I mean, friends and family and everyone and my schooling, if I had, when I was at school, the opportunity to do something that was a bit different, and I'd want to at least explore it and see. And I think, wow, that is excellent. That is the bit that's missing.
Yeah.
And it's the bit that's missing. If you don't know what it is, you don't know it's missing. But once you feel it and you think, right, that's something that's really important that I haven't had the chance to explore.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like you're going schooling beyond limitations. I mean, it's yourself beyond your own limitations. I mean, your limitations are limited to only a system that you know.
Yeah.
Once you look beyond that, then there's no limitations.
I agree with you. And for sure, what we need to add here is that, it's not easy to understand the system in just one day or a week. It takes time. Let's put it that way. It sometimes takes time and patience.
Yeah. So do you do like kind of an online open day?
We used to do trial weeks in the past, for an entire week. We don't, allow people to join us for one day because we don't want this to be an experiment, That's why this is something we do not do, because one day that may make you a little bit more confused than anything else. So a week is really needed. And at the moment, we are not offering trial weeks anymore because we don't know whether we can offer then a place to the students who are undergoing trial week. But that's certainly something that we will look into again, maybe in the future.
So in the essence of time, I'm just going to kind of wrap this up. So is there anything that you need or is a challenge that you could ask for, like, for any listeners are listening in, that they could help you with?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Yeah, I think spreading the word that that school beyond limitations is there, and maybe also being open to look into a different way of doing education. And yes, and I'm also always interested in, in accreditation in countries. So if we can get another accreditation done, in other countries, then yeah. And I would like to talk, and to let as many people as possible know about it. So
happy to go on many podcasts.
Yeah, podcasts, conferences, articles, TV shows, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of awareness. Once people are aware, they can make a decision. But if you're not aware, it's hard to make a decision.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I kind of come across you in a serendipitous way, and I absolutely love what you're doing. And I think that this is fundamentally missing from every education on all levels. So it doesn't really matter where you start, as long as you start, right?
And the beautiful thing, maybe this is something I would like to share, that our facilitators, you know, who are with School Beyond Limitations, they really want to stay with us, you know, and they feel, you know, that this is the place to be.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. Yeah.
So, Martina, you've been an absolutely wonderful guest. And yeah, I absolutely love your story. And it's nice to know the person behind the business. So you shared something very personal as well. So thank you for doing that. And for people to reach out now, how can they contact you?
Well, they can actually make contact through our website. You know, there is the application process, or if they are interested in becoming a facilitator, there is also the possibility to get in touch with us through the website, or otherwise also by using my name, Martina 𝗬𝗓𝗓, and at school-beyond-limitations.com. That's also a possibility.
So I'll actually put the notes and everything so people can just click on it and away they go. Right, and then they can reach out to you. So have you got any final closing comments or remarks or anything you want to leave us with?
The sky is not the limit. And there's so much about each person. Let's bring this wonderful essence into life so that we can live a peaceful and appreciative life with one another. That's it. And I thank you, James, for your time and for your questions.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. So thank you very much.
Wow, that was another featured business brought to you by Visibility Impact. If you'd like to be our next featured guest or learn how James Moffat can help you leverage on the art and power of interactive storytelling for your business, reach out and schedule a call.